I always thought my parents had a normal love story. The kind where two people meet through mutual friends, exchange numbers, and go on a few awkward but sweet dates before realizing, yep, this is it. That's the version they told me, anyway. And like any good son, I believed it. That was before I found the tape. It happened on a Sunday afternoon, the kind of day where the most exciting thing on my agenda was debating whether to order pizza or be an actual adult and cook something that didn't involve a microwave. I had no idea my entire world was about to implode. See, my grandfather had passed away a few months prior, and it had somehow fallen on me to clean out his attic. Nobody else wanted to do it, and honestly, I couldn't blame them. That attic was basically a tomb for abandoned junk. So there I was, covered in sweat and dust, sifting through the wreckage of my grandfather's hoarding tendencies. Boxes upon boxes of Christmas decorations from the 70s, a disturbing number of porcelain clown figurines, and old newspapers stacked so high I briefly wondered if he had been preparing for some kind of apocalypse. That's when I found the chest. It was tucked away in the corner, hidden beneath a pile of moth-eaten blankets. Something about it felt different, older, heavier, like it hadn't been touched in decades. I pried it open, expecting more of the same useless memorabilia. But sitting at the bottom, partially buried beneath some yellowed papers, was a small, unlabeled VHS tape. And on the side, written in faded marker, were 4 words that would alter the course of my existence forever. Mark and Lisa, 1989. My parents' names. At first, I thought, oh cool, maybe this is their wedding video. But then I did the math. They got married in 1991. I was born in 1990. This was 1989. What exactly were they filming a year before I was born? That was my first warning sign. The first whisper of unease creeping up my spine. But instead of listening to the part of my brain screaming, "Put the tape down," I stuffed it in my bag and took it home. The second warning sign was that I even owned a VCR in the first place. I dug it out from the depths of my closet, wiped off an embarrassing amount of dust, and hooked it up to my TV. I sat there for a moment, staring at the tape in my hand, feeling this strange, gnawing hesitation. Like I was about to open Pandora's box. Then I hit play. The screen flickered, static giving way to a grainy image. A dimly lit room. A ratty old couch. A large mirror on the back wall. The kind of setting that felt oddly familiar. A voice spoke from off-camera, asking someone to introduce themselves. And then, my father walked into frame. I frowned, confused. Because why was my dad, standing in the middle of what very much looked like some kind of cheap audition setup? Then my mother stepped into frame. That was the moment my soul left my body. The realization didn't hit all at once. No, my brain fought it, rejected it, tried to make sense of it. Maybe it was a joke. Some weird home movie? Maybe this was I don't know, a drama club thing? But then I saw their faces. My dad, trying way too hard to look confident, running a hand through his tragically 80s hair. My mom, shifting awkwardly, clutching her hands together like she really didn't want to be there. And then the voice off camera said something that shattered whatever delusions I had left. So, have either of you done this kind of work before? I felt all the oxygen leave my lungs. There was a pause. A silence so thick I could feel my past, present, and future selves collectively screaming in horror. My father cleared his throat, flashing what I could only describe as a wannabe model smirk. No, but I'm hoping this will be my big break. I slammed the remote so hard the tape stopped mid-sentence, ejecting itself like even it didn't want to be part of this anymore. I sat in complete silence, staring at the black screen. My pulse was pounding. My entire reality was crumbling. Because I had just discovered that my parents met at an adult film audition. I could have handled anything else. Secret past as jewel thieves? Fine. Witness protection program? Cool. Secret agents? I would have been proud. But this was something no child should ever have to process. And worst of all, I wasn't even sure if they got the part. I stood up too fast, knocking my chair over, pacing the room like a man unraveling. My mind was a hurricane of questions I didn't want answers to. Had they actually gone through with it? Had they been in something? Was I the result of some terrifying workplace romance? I grabbed my phone, hesitating with my thumb over my dad's contact. What the hell was I even supposed to say? Hey, Dad, just wondering, were you and Mom almost adult film stars, or am I hallucinating? No, I needed a plan. I needed proof before I went in guns blazing. And then my doorbell rang. I flinched, heart hammering, paranoia spiking. Was the universe about to drop another horrifying revelation at my feet? I crept to the door, opened it, and standing there, holding 2 beers and grinning like an idiot, was my best friend, Nick. "Yo, what's up?" he said, stepping inside before I could stop him. "Why do you look like you just saw a ghost?" I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then, like an idiot, I blurted out the worst sentence of my life. "Nick, I think my parents did corn." Nick stared at me, blinked, opened his mouth, then closed it like he had to reboot his entire brain. "I'm sorry, what?" I swallowed hard, suddenly regretting every life decision that had led me to this moment. I know, that my parents met at a corn audition. Silence. Then Nick, my supposed best friend, burst out laughing. "Oh my God," he wheezed, doubling over. No, Jamie, you did not just say that." I ran a hand down my face. "I'm serious, man. That is the single worst sentence I've ever heard," he gasped, wiping tears from his eyes. "Are you sure?" Like, sure. Maybe it was just, I don't know, a very dramatic farmer's market recruitment video. "Nick." I grabbed his shoulders. I saw it. I watched it. With my own 2 eyes. His grin faltered. "Wait, you actually saw the tape?" I nodded slowly, the weight of my existential crisis settling in my bones. Nick's face contorted into something between second-hand embarrassment and morbid fascination. "How bad was it?" I shut it off before it got to anything irreversible. I shuddered. But, Nick, they were there. My dad was talking about making it his big break. My mom looked like she was reconsidering every decision that got her to that room. Nick let out a long whistle. "Damn. Your dad was really out here trying to be the next." Do not finish that sentence. He raised his hands in surrender. Okay. So what's your game plan? Are you gonna ask them about it?" I hesitated. The thought of looking my parents in the eye after this was almost too much to handle. But there was no going back now. I needed answers. "I have to," I muttered. "I can't live with this cursed knowledge alone." Nick clapped me on the back. "Welp, it was nice knowing you, buddy." I glared at him. Not helpful. "No, I mean it." He stepped back like he was avoiding collateral damage. This could go so badly. What if they deny everything? What if they get defensive? What if they tell me too much? I whispered, suddenly gripped by a far worse fear. Nick grimaced. "Oh yeah, that's a real possibility." He paused. "You should definitely record it though." "Nick." "What?" "For historical purposes. This is once-in-a-lifetime family drama, Jamie. Future generations of Holloways deserve to know." I didn't dignify that with a response. Instead, I grabbed my keys, my dignity, and whatever remained of my mental stability, and drove to my parents' house. By the time I got to their front door, I was questioning every choice I'd ever made. Maybe I should just pretend I never found the tape. Live in blissful ignorance. But no, I was already traumatized. What if there were more tapes? What if, God forbid, I found one on the internet one day? I needed to contain this disaster now. I took a deep breath and knocked. A moment later, my mom answered, smiling warmly. "Jamie, what a nice surprise." "Yep, nice surprise. That's me. The nice, normal son who definitely didn't just uncover the world's most cursed family secret." "Hey, Mom." My voice cracked. Is Dad home?" "Of course. Come in, sweetheart." I stepped inside, my body moving on autopilot. The house smelled like vanilla candles and home-cooked meals. A safe, normal, wholesome place. A place that now felt like a lie. My dad was in the living room, flipping through a magazine. "Hey, kiddo!" He grinned. "You're just in time. Your mom made lasagna." Oh God, I was about to ruin lasagna night. I sat down, heart pounding. "So, I found something today." My mom turned from the kitchen. "Oh, what is it?" I swallowed hard. An old VHS tape. From 1989. The second those words left my mouth, something changed. My mom froze. Like, actual statue mode. My dad, who had been casually flipping a page, went stiff. And that's when I knew. They remembered. They knew exactly what I was talking about. My mom turned around slowly, her face unreadable. Where did you find it?" "In Grandpa's attic." My voice was barely above a whisper. "It had both of your names on it." A tense silence settled over the room. My dad rubbed his jaw, staring at the floor like he was trying to telepathically escape this conversation. "Did you watch it?" my mom finally asked. I hesitated. Then, reluctantly, I nodded. She closed her eyes. "Oh my God." My dad let out a long, suffering sigh. "Well, guess it was bound to happen sooner or later." "Sooner or later?" I choked. "What do you mean sooner or later?" My mom buried her face in her hands. "I told you we should have destroyed it," she muttered to my dad. "I thought I did," he hissed. "Oh, so you accidentally misplaced a tape of us at a corn audition?" "I don't know, Lisa. Maybe I had other things on my mind at the time, like the fact that we were about to become parents." "Remember that." I blinked. Froze. "Wait. What?" My mom groaned, pacing the kitchen. "I knew we should have told him years ago." "You think?" I shouted. My dad sighed, looking exhausted. "All right, Jamie. Here's the truth." He pinched the bridge of his nose. "Your mom and I were young. We were broke. And we made some bad decisions." "No kidding," I deadpanned. My mom shot me a look but continued. "We had a friend who convinced us that this opportunity could make us some quick money. But the second I stepped in front of that camera, I realized, nope, not happening. And then, well, we found out I was pregnant with you." I sat there, stunned. My entire existence was built on the foundation of an almost career in corn. "So, you both just bailed?" "Immediately," my dad said, shuddering. "And we never looked back." My mom sighed. "We always meant to tell you. But how do you even start that conversation?" I rubbed my temples. "I don't know, maybe not like this?" "Fair point," my dad muttered. I exhaled, my brain officially fried. My entire world had been turned upside down, but at least they had the sense to walk away. "Does anyone else know?" I finally asked. My mom hesitated. "Not that we know of." My dad shifted uncomfortably. "Well." I shot him a sharp look. "Well, what?" He cleared his throat. We weren't the only ones who left behind some old tapes." I stared at him. Nick was right. I should have recorded this. I was officially done. Finished. Emotionally bankrupt. Because, see, I had thought the worst part of my day was learning that my parents met at a corn audition. I had thought I had reached the peak of my personal hell. But no. Because now my dad was telling me, casually, like he was mentioning the weather, that there were other tapes. And not just their tape. Other people's tapes. I gripped the edge of the table like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to this reality. What? My mom shot my dad a murderous glare. "Mark, what?" he asked. My dad raised his hands defensively. "And you didn't have to answer," she shrieked. I stared between them, my horror growing by the second. "So, what you're telling me is that Grandpa's attic isn't just haunted by one cursed tape, It's a corn vault? My dad winced. I wouldn't call it a vault. How many, Mark? My mom snapped, her voice an octave higher than I had ever heard it. My dad hesitated, scratched the back of his head, looked anywhere but at us. More than one. I dropped my head onto the table with a thud. I needed this to be a prank, a fever dream, a simulation, anything but real life. My mom groaned, rubbing her temples. This is unbelievable. So what, lost track of them? I don't know, Lisa. It was 1,989. We weren't exactly keeping a well-organized inventory of our regrets. I peeked up from the table, voice dangerously calm. So, let me get this straight. You two weren't the only ones who auditioned for this thing. No, my dad admitted. And these tapes could still be out there somewhere? My dad shifted uncomfortably. I mean, if your grandfather kept ours, then, yeah, it's possible. I stood up. I need a drink. You don't even drink, my mom pointed out. I do now. I stormed into the kitchen, yanked open the fridge, and grabbed a bottle of sparkling water. Because, let's be real, I wasn't actually prepared to commit to alcoholism over this. But I was prepared to commit to a full-blown breakdown. I chugged half the bottle, trying to drown my existential dread, before turning back to my parents. I don't think you two fully grasp what's happening here, I said, voice strained. Because I now have to live with the knowledge that at some point in history, there was an underground corn ring operating out of my family's attic. My dad groaned. Can we stop calling it that? We can call it whatever you want, Mark, but IT doesn't make it better. My mom sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. Okay, look, this is obviously a lot to take in. Oh, is it? I snapped. Is it, Mom? She gave me a look that was equal parts guilt and Jamie. I will ground you even though you are 28 years old. I took a deep breath. I needed facts. A game plan. Damage control. All right. Here's what we need to do, I said, pacing the kitchen like a man on the verge of a nervous breakdown. First, we go back to Grandpa's attic and find out exactly how deep this situation goes. Then My dad cut in. Actually, we might have a small problem with that. I froze. What kind of problem? He cleared his throat. Well, we don't, own the house anymore. I stared at him, blinked, slowly turned to my mother. She groaned, rubbing her temples again. We sold it last month, Jamie. The floor tilted beneath me. I grabbed the counter for support. You sold the house. Yeah, my dad said, as if this wasn't the worst news of my life. A young couple bought it. Super nice people. I was going to pass out. So what you're saying is that some random family is now in possession of a house full of mystery corn tapes? My dad winced. That's one way to put it. I inhaled sharply, willing my soul not to leave my body. My mother, seeing my spiraling, quickly jumped in. Jamie, listen. There's no reason to panic. No reason to panic. I threw my arms in the air. A whole archive of questionable 1989 life choices could be sitting in a stranger's basement right now. How am I not supposed to panic? Okay, let's think this through, my dad said, trying to be the voice of reason despite being the direct cause of my suffering. Maybe they never found them. Maybe the boxes are still sitting in storage, untouched. I mean, really, what are the chances that they've actually gone through every old thing in that attic? A tense silence settled over the room. Then, as if on cue, my mom's phone dinged. She pulled it out of her pocket, squinted at the screen, and then went completely, horrifyingly pale. What? I asked, already knowing I didn't want to know. Slowly, she turned the screen toward me. It was a text from an unknown number, and attached to it was a photo of the VHS tape, the same tape I had found. My blood turned to ice. The text below it read, "Hey, Lisa, long time no see. I choked on my own lungs. What the? My mom screamed. My dad swore. And in that moment, I knew one thing for certain. This nightmare wasn't over. It was just getting started. I have experienced many emotions in my life. Joy, fear, embarrassment, the occasional, fleeting moment of pride. But nothing could compare to the absolute bone-deep horror I felt in that moment. Because sitting there, glowing on my mother's phone screen, was the tape. The same tape I had found in Grandpa's attic. Except now, someone else had it. And they knew exactly who my mom was. I grabbed the phone with shaking hands, rereading the text as if a second glance would somehow make it less terrifying. "Hey, Lisa, long time no see." My mom clutched her chest. Oh my God. My dad, who had been relatively calm up until this point, finally lost it. "Who the hell is that?" he barked, staring at the phone like it had personally insulted him. I was still in full-on denial mode. This could be a prank," I said weakly. "Maybe someone found the tape and is just messing with you?" My mom shook her head furiously. No, that's my number. Whoever this is knows me." A fresh wave of nausea rolled through me. "Okay, well, do you know them?" She hesitated, bit her lip. "I don't recognize the number." My dad snatched the phone and started furiously typing. "I'm calling them." I nearly lunged across the table. "Dad, wait." Too late. He pressed dial, and the phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times, and then, voicemail. A robotic voice droned. "The number you have dialed is not available. Please leave a message after the tone." Beep. My dad, ever the beacon of wisdom, lost his mind. "Listen here, you sick son of a..." "Mark." My mom yanked the phone away before he could commit a felony via voicemail. My dad threw his hands in the air. "What? I'm handling it. You're handling it terribly." I dropped my head into my hands. "Okay, new plan. We go over every single person who was involved in this audition. Maybe it's one of them." My parents exchanged a look. A look that filled me with deep regret. "About that," my mom mumbled. I exhaled through my nose. "Oh, what now?" My dad scratched his chin. "Well, there were a lot of people there that day." I shot him a sharp look. "Define a lot." He hesitated. "More than 2. I turned to my mom in desperation. "Mom!" She groaned. "It was a group audition, Jamie." I blinked. "A what?" "There were other couples trying out," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "It was a competitive process." I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. There were no words. No words in the English language that could describe the specific shade of existential horror I was feeling. "So what you're telling me," I said slowly, "is that there is an entire corn ensemble cast out there, and one of them might have our tape?" My dad shrugged helplessly. "That's the reality we're living in, son." I slid down the chair, burying my face in my hands. I wanted to be anywhere but here. I wanted to hop in a spaceship, launch myself into the void, and high-five an asteroid on the way out. The phone dinged again. I flinched. My mom squeaked. My dad, apparently embracing the madness, grabbed the phone like a detective solving his final case. Another text. "I think we should talk." My mom groaned. "Oh, hell no." I sat back up, adrenaline spiking. Okay, this is fine. This is totally fine. Just text them back. Ask who they are." My dad typed. We waited. And then, ding. "You already know." I shot to my feet. Nope. Absolutely not." My dad paled. "That's some horror movie nonsense right there." My mom rubbed her temples like she was developing a migraine. "Okay, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to block the number." Ding. "Don't do that, Lisa." I swear to God my soul left my body. My mom screamed. My dad swore. I started reevaluating my entire existence. What the hell is going on? I shrieked. Before anyone could answer, my mom's phone rang. All three of us jumped out of our skins. The same number. Calling. I backed up, shaking my head. Do not answer that. Do not answer that. But my mom, possessed by either bravery or sheer insanity, picked up the call and put it on speaker. "Hello," she said, voice barely above a whisper. Silence. And a low chuckle. A man's voice, smug and slow. "Well, well, well. I was wondering when you'd finally pick up." My mom whimpered. My dad clenched his fists. "Who are you?" A pause. And, "You don't remember me, Mark?" My dad's face went white. Oh, hell. My stomach dropped. "Dad!" He gulped. I think I know who this is." I stared at him. My mom stared at him. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. "Who?" I finally asked. My dad swallowed hard. And then, in the most defeated voice I'd ever heard, muttered two words. "Barry Thompson." I blinked. Who the hell is Barry Thompson? The voice on the phone chuckled again. "Oh, Jamie. You don't know me. But I know you." I screamed. Barry Thompson. A name that meant nothing to me, but apparently meant everything to my dad, who now looked like he was staring down the Grim Reaper himself. "Mark," my mom hissed, clutching his arm. "Who the hell is Barry Thompson?" My dad swallowed so hard I heard it. He scratched his head, looking everywhere but at us. "He was sort of my competition." I blinked. "You're what?" "For the corn industry," he mumbled. I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself. "Are you telling me you had a rival?" He cringed. It wasn't a rivalry, exactly, more like professional tension. The voice on the phone chuckled darkly. "Oh no, Mark, don't sell yourself short. You despised me." "Not helping Barry," my dad snapped. Barry ignored him. "You see, Jamie, your old man and I were both trying to break into the biz at the same time. Same audition, same dreams. But in the end," he sighed dramatically, "only one of us got the call back." I turned slowly to my dad, my voice a whisper. "Did you not make the cut?" My dad scowled. "Well, no, Jamie, I didn't, but that's not the point." Nick was going to die when he heard this. Barry's smirk was practically audible. "You know, I always wondered what happened to you two after that day." And then, pure coincidence, I come across this little tape while cleaning out my storage. Imagine my surprise when I see your beautiful faces again. My mom let out a strangled noise. "Why do you still have it?" "Archival purposes," Barry said smoothly. "Oh my God," I whispered, pressing my hands to my face. "Relax," Barry drawled. "I'm not a monster. I'm not gonna upload it anywhere." My knees buckled in relief. "But I do think we should meet up and have a little chat." I slammed my fist on the table. No. No meetings, no chats, no social events of any kind. But my dad sighed in defeat. "Where?" I whipped my head toward him. "Dad, what?" My mom gawked. "Mark, no." But my dad, possibly having aged 20 years in the last 10 minutes, just rubbed his temples. "I want this to be over. I want my life back." He exhaled. "Barry." "Where?" Barry hummed. "Your old house." "Midnight." My stomach dropped. "The sold house." I yelped. Barry chuckled. "Oh, don't worry. The new owners won't be there. I already checked." Already checked. I felt my soul attempt to exit my body. But before I could protest, my dad sighed and muttered, "Fine, fine, fine." I stared at him in horror. This was how I died. Not of old age. Not of natural causes. But of second-hand embarrassment poisoning from my parents' corn criminal underworld reunion. And somehow, against every shred of common sense in my body, I found myself climbing into the car at 11:30 p.m., heading toward my childhood home, preparing to face Barry freaking Thompson. We pulled up to the house at exactly 11:59 p.m. It looked different. The new owners had repainted, redone the landscaping. But standing in the driveway was a figure, tall, broad, and wearing an infuriatingly smug grin. Barry Thompson. And in his hand, a VHS tape. I felt physically ill. Barry smiled. Mark. Lisa. His eyes flicked to me. And Jamie. I folded my arms. You are way too enthusiastic about this. He chuckled. Come inside. I turned to my dad, whispering, I swear to God, if I get murdered in this house because of your failed corn career, I will haunt you forever. Barry led us into the dimly lit living room, where a single old-school TV and VCR were set up. And just like that, we were back. The same setup, the same terrible lighting, the same cursed couch. I nearly passed out. Barry strolled over to the VCR, holding up the tape like it was the One Ring. Now, let's see what we've got here. And oh, I yelled, lunging forward. No more viewings. Barry smirked. Relax, kid. We're just making sure this stays buried. He slid the tape into the VCR and hit play. The screen flickered. The same cheap set. The same terrible audio quality. And then, my dad walked into frame. I gagged. Yep, Barry mused. There's our star. My dad grumbled. Not my finest moment. The tape continued, until my mom appeared. She shrieked, lunging for the remote. Turn it off. Barry obliged. The screen went dark. The curse was lifted. And then, to my absolute horror, Barry pulled out a lighter. My jaw dropped. He held up the tape, flame flickering beneath it. This is what you came for, right? We all stared, speechless. Barry grinned. Consider it my retirement from the industry. And then, poof. The tape curled, melted, and turned to ash. Gone. I collapsed into a chair, releasing years of stress. My mom let out a relieved sob. My dad whispered, Thank God. Barry dusted off his hands. Well, that was fun. I glared at him. I hate you. He just grinned. And with that, we walked out of the house, leaving behind our corn legacy forever. Or so I thought. Because as we drove off, my dad muttered something under his breath. Something I really wish I hadn't heard. We should probably check if there were any other copies. I screamed into the night. That's it for today's story. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more wild Reddit stories. Until next time, stay curious and keep the stories coming.